If you are on a journey of bettering yourself in any way, your health, your relationships, your finances, you're on a healing journey and you start to feel a little bit better. But then all of a sudden, all of these new symptoms pop up, these new things, these new triggers. Maybe instead of feeling anxious all the time, you suddenly have all this brain fog out of nowhere. Or you finally start to make progress on your passion project and all of a sudden your relationship blows up. These pitfalls can actually be a sign that you might be moving in the right direction, as crazy as that sounds. But today we're going to talk about why. Hi, I'm Dr. Mel. I'm a licensed naturopathic doctor. On this channel, we talk about all things self-care, holistic health, bettering ourselves so that we can be the best version of us that we can. Lately, I've been feeling really nostalgic and thinking a lot about the early stages of my healing journey. I have an autoimmune condition called psoriatic arthritis. Right now, I consider it in remission. If you can even consider an autoimmune disease in remission, that's up for debate, but I have been symptom-free for over 4 years now. But recovering from my autoimmune disease was the entire theme of the majority of my 20s. I was extremely sick. I was so anxious all the time. I had so many digestive issues. I had really debilitating joint pain that felt like the bottom of my heel was scraping bare against the pavement. It was just searing and so uncomfortable to even be out of bed sometimes. And my healing journey is really what inspired me to become a naturopathic doctor. I really believe in the work that I do because I have seen it in my own health, how it has just transformed the quality of my life. And this is really what inspired me to become a naturopathic doctor, to get a degree in nutrition, because I was really dedicated to my own healing and helping other people heal too. And I know from talking to so many of my clients that often when you have a chronic illness, you have some type of health condition, it is years and years and years of struggling with this, trying to find relief. And that's how it was for me, where there were just so many ups and downs over the years. So I really want to share some of those stories from my journey, from the beginning, the middle, where I'm at now, and hopefully give you a little bit of hope for this journey. This is not going to be toxic positivity. Everything's great. Just keep going. There'll be a little bit of that because you know I like to give a pep talk, but I want to keep it really real with you and just share honestly from my experience some of the pitfalls that I went through and that you might be going through on your own journey, whether that is health related, whether it's you're paying off debt, you're starting therapy for the first time. I do think a lot of these stories you can really apply to your own life because that's how life is, right? It's not just up and up and up and up. There are ups and downs, there are different seasons to life, and we can learn from all of it. So today I want to talk about the pitfalls that you can experience on a healing journey, why sometimes you feel worse before you feel better, the different stages of healing and how to know that you're moving in the right direction, and how to really let yourself heal and feel through each of these stages. Before we get into it, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another upload. Grab yourself something cozy to drink and let's get started. Stay with me here, but you know in Shrek when he says ogres are like onions, healing is like an onion. There are layers. Often that first symptom, the first thing that you experience, usually the one that gets you in the doctor's office, that gets you Googling, how do I fix this? That's that first layer. That's what I'm talking about. Often the first symptom isn't the root problem. That is just how your body or life right now is choosing to express that imbalance or the weakened system. For example, you might be in a debt payoff journey and the big symptom is that you have this huge credit card bill. When you start to uncover it, you might realize, oh, I use online shopping as a coping mechanism when I'm feeling lonely, when I'm feeling sad. Those are the layers that are really underneath that first overarching problem. I see this all the time working with chronic illness especially, but really any of my clients in practice where they come in with one main symptom, whether it's anxiety, it's joint pain, it's digestive issues, and we start to work on that symptom immediately starts to feel better, and then bam, all of a sudden, why am I bloating? Why do I have sleep issues all of a sudden, Dr. Mel? And I have to say, hold on, wait a minute. Actually, this is a good thing. We're peeling off a layer of that onion. Once that layer gets peeled back, it becomes the other things that have always been there a lot more obvious. So your anxiety and that tension that you're holding in your stomach might be masking all this bloating. You get rid of your anxiety and all of a sudden you have overwhelming brain fog or fatigue. It's almost like the symptoms start to morph. Healing is really peeling back those layers to get to the core and the root problem. That's why it can feel like sometimes when you're on a healing journey that there's suddenly more problems that you're having to deal with, because once you address things and you face it head on, things start to become a lot more clear, right? It's almost like denial is at play in a way, because before you decided to take this step where you were really going to face the problem head on, whether it was with health, finances, relationships, whatever, it's almost like it didn't get as much of your attention. But now that you are committed, you're taking active steps on this path, you're suddenly aware of everything else that's lurking. It can really feel like a setback, and I just want to gently reframe it that it can actually be a good thing, because it can actually help you to get a lot more focused, a lot more strategic about where you need to go next, which will then help you to fix the problem. When I was first diagnosed with my autoimmune disease, I was 22 years old and I had just graduated from college. I went through the conventional medical system and I wasn't given a lot of options, especially being so young. I just wasn't ready to go on a medication. I'm not anti-medication by any means, but it just wasn't the right choice for me at the time. I really threw myself into learning everything I could about nutrition and supplements and different things that I could be doing to try to improve how I was feeling and honestly just feel normal again. I came across this diet called the autoimmune paleo diet. It is essentially just eating meat and vegetables for a month or so. And I committed. I dove right into this. As soon as I started the diet, I felt a big reduction in my joint pain. I felt less inflammation. My joints weren't as hot and swollen, which are hallmark signs of inflammation. And I immediately, in 2 weeks, dropped a ton of weight that is not healthy to lose in such a short amount of time. And this is TMI, but I'm a doctor, so we talk about this all the time. Was having just straight diarrhea all day long, every single day for weeks, which is not good, obviously. So on the plus side, joint pain was doing a lot better, had a little bit more energy, the inflammation was going down. All that weight was really just inflammation. But it revealed that my gut was a complete mess, that I had a lot of intestinal permeability going on. I wasn't absorbing any of the nutrients from the food I was eating. And it was this whole other issue that I then had to deal with. But that was being masked by how much pain I was in, physical joint pain. I didn't even realize, it was almost like my body was directing all of its resources to that, to trying to stabilize that. Once it didn't have to deal with that, it was like, hey, look, this is the real issue you got to deal with. And as it goes, there were more and more issues after that, but we won't get into all of that now. But things getting worse in that way were really me moving from that initial stage into the next stage of my healing. At the time, I didn't see it that way, but looking back, I can really be like, oh yeah, that had to happen so that I could then dedicate the next couple of months to healing my gut, which ended up being a huge root cause for me in that initial phase. I also think the process of therapy really highlights this part in the healing journey too, where your emotions can really shift. For example, when I was going through trauma therapy, in the beginning, it was a lot of crying, it was a lot of sadness. That's how I was really expressing emotion. And then as I healed, as I was working through things with my therapist, I felt so angry all the time. And I remember being like to my therapist, something's really wrong with me. Like, I am so angry. And she was like, yay, I'm so happy. And I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, no, that means these emotions are shifting. We're uncovering the next layer that we can dive into. And while it's scary and it feels uncomfortable because these are emotions that you're not used to, it's pointing us in that next direction that we need to take. It's reminding me too just how wise our bodies are and that they really are trying to help us even when it feels like, especially with a health journey, your body is completely against you. If we can instead use these symptoms that come up, these things that happen in our lives as cues that this is where our attention is needed next. I think, well, one, it's just a much gentler way to be in relationship with yourself. And when you have that relationship again, that trust with your body, it allows you to heal deeper. It really does. This next phase is, okay, you've made some changes, you've gotten through a couple of these pitfalls, and things are probably 50 to 70% better. What I see a lot with this stage is fear that you're gonna end up back where you were in the beginning. You're starting again at zero, that any little slip up, any little thing is going to send you back over the edge. I see this a lot with people who have been on therapeutic, restrictive diets in the past where they think they have one slice of bread again, they're gonna be back at zero. And again, for your case, that might be true. Any little thing, there's a lot of fear. It feels like their health is very delicate. There's almost an unwillingness to admit that you have gotten better. You're still kind of holding on to, well, this isn't great. This isn't how I used to be. I used to be able to do so much more than this. It's really hard to see how far you've come because you're just so focused on either getting back to who you used to be or who you think you should be by now. During this stage, it's so important to remember that you are changing your foundation. You have already put in so much work. You have changed your habits. You have put yourself first. Even if you have a huge flare-up, something crazy in your life happens, something traumatic happens, you will never be that same person at zero again. You have started to build up this resilience, and it's time to trust your body, to trust the work that you've done for yourself, that you're gonna be able to handle it. If we're thinking about health in that linear way that we like to think about health, and we go up and then we go down again, and we go up and we go down again, we are changing that down point every single time. You see how it's getting higher? Your bottom isn't rock bottom anymore. I think this is the phase where the way that you talk to yourself, the mental work, the self-worth, all of that work becomes even more important. This also might be you've peeled off a lot of layers. You've gone through so many different things that you feel like you are just continuously on this healing journey, and it feels like you'll never get off. Really keep in mind that you are solidifying and making such a stable foundation. You are building that resiliency, and even if something happens, you will not be that same person that you were before. Let's talk about you've made progress and then something does happen. This isn't just a hypothetical anymore. I flared, this big financial drain came out of nowhere. You experience a really big setback. This happened to me during the pandemic. I got COVID, and it had been at least a year or two where I really didn't have any symptoms of my autoimmune disease at all. I felt very healthy, and I got COVID. I got extremely sick. And after the virus ran its course, I wasn't sick anymore. All of a sudden, I had all this joint pain back. It was searing. It was so uncomfortable. I had so much fatigue. It was hard for me to get through classes. I was in med school at the time. It was hard for me to get through a day of classes. I also have a lot of skin and rosacea issues that will come out when my autoimmune disease is really dysregulated. That was all coming back. And I was distraught about it. I thought, again, I'm back at zero. I have to start all of this all over again. It was a really big setback for me. And I reminded myself that I healed once. I know what to do to heal again. Some of the things might need to look different, but I have a really good base and foundation. Just like I talked about, I'm not back at zero. I have all these skills and tools now that are gonna help me get through this big setback I experienced. I think during this phase, if you have a big setback, one of the most important things you can do is let yourself be upset about it. I think that is completely normal to have things going the direction you want them to go. Something unexpected happens and you are completely rocked. It's normal to cry, to be upset, to grieve that, to be angry. You have to do all this work all over again. I remember really letting myself feel all of that. It might have even been a couple weeks, a month before I got into more action planning mode, acknowledging how upsetting this was and then taking action to improve it. It did take me 4 months to recover from that flare. It wasn't necessarily easy, but it was easier in the sense that I knew it was possible for me to get better. And I think that's what you have to remember in this stage is you already have proof of yourself improving. So why wouldn't it be able to happen again? Keep reminding yourself that you are not at zero again. One of the best signs that you are healing, that you are really advanced in your healing journey, is that you stop thinking about the healing journey so much. You're not consuming every little bit of information you can on how that could be better. You're not obsessing over your symptoms. You have other interests in your life because you have more capacity to give that part of yourself to something else besides just your health. Things are more stable. You have more trust in your body. You have better habits or habits that are gonna set you up better so you feel your best. You don't have to spend as much brain space thinking about it because it has just become part of your life. And that's because you have let yourself evolve. You're okay with things looking different than you thought they would. I'm currently going through this with my fitness journey. I'm on a mission to rebuild my muscle after so many years of being sick, not being able to move well. I finally feel like I'm in a position where I can put on some muscle to really improve my strength for my longevity. And I used to be very athletic, very active, and then I very much wasn't when I was sick. Sometimes I could barely get out of bed for days and weeks. And right now I am shedding both of those identities. I'm resisting the voice in my head saying, you should be working harder, you should pick up more weights. That's not enough of a workout. You used to be able to run so much faster, you used to be able to do so much more. And I'm resisting the voice that says, oh my gosh, be careful, be gentle. Why don't we just take another rest day and another rest day? And do we really need to be doing that? And oh, you could pick up lighter weights than that. I'm resisting both of those voices. I'm trying to find the sweet spot in the middle where I am trusting my body. I'm trusting the healing that I have done, that my body is in a place where it can do this, but I'm still respecting and honoring the capacity that I currently have, that I am building slowly. So everybody, my mind, my body, my spirit, we are all on board. We are ready for the next step. I'm not being stupid. I'm respecting how important both recovery and training are together. But that is an identity that I have had to morph and shape and let go of and rebuild. I've had to let go of this athlete I think I should be by now, that maybe I see my peers being. And I've also had to let go of this identity of being someone who's sick, of really seeing myself as someone with an autoimmune disease and letting that go and trusting that I have taken the steps to heal. And that's why I always tell my clients, you have to let yourself heal, because it is easy to learn a new comfort zone when you're sick. When you are dealing with chronic illness, you learn this new comfort zone of who you are and the limitations that your body has put on yourself that then you continue to impose. And this is not easy work. And I am saying this years out from really being in a healing journey. It has evolved in so many different ways, but I know that when you're sick, some of this can be really hard to hear, and that's okay. I will say that I had a real team behind me. I really credit my therapist. I credit my naturopathic doctor I was working with to really help me evolve and to be able to release those identities, to release my chronic illness. And I really, really encourage you, if you don't already, to have a good team around you, both of the emotional support side, friends and family, and trained experts who know what your physical body, your mental health might need in each stage. If you are currently on a healing journey, whether it is with chronic illness, a weight loss journey, a debt payoff journey, a decluttering journey, whatever it is, as hard as it can be when we experience setbacks and pitfalls in our healing, they can really give us so many answers if we are tuning in and listening closely. One of my biggest mantras in life is strong opinions held loosely, which basically means being open and adaptable to change, going all in, being committed, and then if you're provided new information, a new direction you need to go, being able and willing to do that. If you enjoyed this video, I know you're really gonna like the other video I did on the 5 hard truths that I learned while healing my anxiety. It goes into a lot more of these mindset shifts, so make sure you check that one out next. If you liked this video and wanna see more videos like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment if any of this resonated, what phase you think you might be in your own healing. I believe in you. I always say that healing is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life, and it has also been the best thing I've ever done in my life. I'm sending you so much love, a really big hug. Until next time, I'm rooting for you every step of the way.